Okay, so this is the showmanship part of learning how to prepare yourself for your county fair. This is Cynthia. She will be handling today. I will be showing her how to show while I am teaching you guys or instructing you guys. This is Willa, our goat, our lovely example. So first thing when you walk in the show ring, you want to make sure that you are presentable. You have a nice clean shirt on, you have your clean jeans on, presenting the goat how you want to present them. So wash them before you go into the show, before you walk into the show ring, making sure that their hair is combed through and you have them fit or presented how you want them to be. Showmanship is all about the partnership between you and the goat and how well you can example your goat or how well you can show your goat, show their pluses and their minuses. So when you walk into the ring, first things first, you want to make sure that you have your halter in hand, how you like it, or your collar in hand. I prefer showing on a halter. I train my goats on a halter, so it just makes more sense for me to walk into the show ring with a halter. When I'm walking in, I like to put the loop, the top of the halter, so this loop right here, in my thumb, and then hold the halter with my hand. I have control over the goat, and when I'm walking on this side of the goat, looking a little over my shoulder and at the judge, walking in a line all the way around the ring. Always keeping your eye on the judge and watching the goat in front of you out of the corner of your other eye. Once we get stopped and we get ready to set our animal up in the ring, it's important that we hold on to the head before we drop the halter, if we consider it. I like to hold the halter in my other hand. So taking your hands, your last 3 fingers, and wrapping it under the halter. I use it as a handle, pointing your fingers in an L shape, holding the ear up with your pointer finger, and resting your thumb on the top of the head. Do you want to go ahead and brace her? I'm going to pass behind you. She's being upset. Spin your butt, ma'am. Okay, pop her. Lift her up a little bit. How we place our legs is important. I like to say I'm making a corner. So I have my front foot or my left foot pointed straight at the judge, straight ahead. And I have my right foot pointed towards the back of the goat. And I have my leg in line with my goat's legs. So it goes goat leg, my leg. We have our foot in front of the goat's feet so that we can use our foot to push the front feet back and make sure they're in line with the shoulder. In line with the shoulder, right there. Making sure our feet are square. We can always reach back and set them up before we start bracing. And if you look at our hands, we have the last 3 fingers wrapped around the halter, pointer finger holding the ear up. It shows how long the neck is. Can you put the ear down? Versus how when the ear is down, it makes the neck look a little bit shorter. And then she has her thumb on top of the forehead. You can take your other hand and hold it behind the head like she's doing now. Or you can set it on the inside of her head, holding the other ear up as well. Making sure that her nose is looking over your leg and not pointed straight up in the air. If their heads are more flat, they're able to brace better. They like bracing better than if their heads are pointed straight up. So when it comes to setting your animal up, it's important to know how far back you want the back legs set and where you want the front legs. It's always important that you know before you go into the ring while you are training them. Having a parent there to help take pictures or having a friend to take pictures and help you out is always a great idea. I'll show you on her where I like to set them and how I'll set them up too far back and too close so that you guys have a little bit of an idea. So first, I take my pointer finger, I wrap my 3 fingers underneath, and I like to stick my hand behind her head. She's kind of being a little fussy today. So that is too far back. She's a little too stretched. I prefer to have them just a little further underneath of her. And when I'm looking over her hip, I can just barely see where her legs bend. She may not let me do it. This would be too far under her. It makes her look scrunched. It doesn't make her look as long. So when I have her set right, and training them while you're bracing them where to set their feet will help them know to immediately put their feet there when you get into the show ring. So she has that straight line coming down her shoulder, and if she doesn't, I can take my feet and push her feet back or pull them forward. Having her back feet exactly where I want them, I want to be able to see just where her knees or where her back legs bend. And as we look at her from behind, when it comes to how wide you want them set, I like to set her up about that wide. If you look right where her hip is, so her hip is right here, and I find the edges of her hip right there and there, her feet are gonna shoot out right where those bones are, right where her hip ends. When it comes to setting up, and as you noticed, I do lift her a little bit when I am setting her front legs up specifically. I'm making sure that her toes are still touching, and I'm only lifting her up enough to move her front feet. She's not completely in the air. She's still able to touch the ground. So when I have my fingers in her halter, my pointer finger holding her ear up, and my thumb over her forehead, I just barely lift her off the ground enough to move her toes, and then I push on her chest because mine are trained to do so. I push on her chest and she sets her feet up. If I need to reach back, I 100% can and move her feet. And every time I move their feet, I set my hand on their hip to help jostle them back and forth and help set them on their feet evenly. It helps make sure they stay and know that they're fine. So once she's set, I will make sure she stays there, move her feet if I need to with my foot. I then sit back, and it makes me look natural. With these shorter goats, if you are a taller person, standing up all the way and bending over doesn't necessarily look as professional versus bending your knees and sitting back a little bit. When they're on a full brace against you, you can have lighter hands, so you're able to extend your elbows more. A few of my little tips and tricks when it comes to showing the front view of your goat is to watch the feet. So a lot of the times, right now, her feet are directly underneath her shoulders, how we had her shown in the brace. But some goats will want to move their feet immediately up after you get off of their chest, or they'll want to sit back. You want to correct that and make sure they don't do that, so to improve the view of your animal. This is what she would look like from a front view to a judge if she had her front feet way too far in front of her. Now, when she's like that, I will just gently move her feet back, always doing the judge's side first and then your side. And when the judge moves across, so right now let's imagine the judge is straight in front of me. When the judge moves this way, I'm still holding onto that clasp. I take 1, 2, 3 steps. I grab underneath her chin, still holding the clasp, and I like to ball the chain up in my hand. And I'm pointing both feet towards her and looking at the judge over my shoulder. It makes me look more involved as a showman versus just holding the top of the chain like so, which you can do if that is your preference, but I like to make sure I have complete control over her head and that she is looking at the judge while I'm looking at the judge. And when the judge switches back over, again, I'm gonna take 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Holding that clasp, looking straight at the judge. I always like to have a bend in my elbow when I'm walking and when the judge is looking at the front view. I have a bend in my elbow straight at my side, shoulders relaxed, my palm is facing in, and my fingers are relaxed. Now Cynthia's gonna give it a shot. So first she's gonna set the feet up, square, and as they move in real life, she will move in the show ring. One way that I like to prevent them or to teach them outside of the show ring before we walk in is a lot of the times, like I said, they'll want to push back on those feet and sit there with their feet out. I will take my fingers and very gently push behind their shoulders, and she doesn't necessarily want to do it, but push behind their shoulders very gently, and she'll want to push her chest out and then pull her feet right back under her. Set the feet up. There we go.
She is sick of us. Come on.
Now Cynthia will show on this new goat demonstration. So her front feet will get set and she's holding on to the clasp, and I will pretend to be the judge. And as I'm moving this way, and as I get to right about here is when you want to switch. So when I'm mid-step moving around, she'll switch, make sure she still has that halter holding her head straight, and she's looking at the judge. And you see how her feet are kind of not together? I think it looks a little bit more professional if your feet are together and pointing towards your goat, but it's all a personal preference. If you want to widen your stance a little bit, you can. Like, it's personal preference whether you want to hold the nose in the clasp of the chain or whatever you're using to show, collar or halter, or if you want to hold the top of the chain. But making sure you still keep that head up and your head is somewhat level as best as you can. And then as I move back over to this side, right about here is where she'll switch, and I come to this side. Making sure your head is level and you're holding on to that chain. Just like that. When we're in the show ring and we're making our way around the show ring, again, liking to hold the chain in my hand and my thumb through the top of it so that I have extra security. I like to clasp the chain as far to the halter as I can, keeping about 2 or 3 links if I pull it tight so that my goat won't get away from me. And I have, again, a little extra sense of security that she is in that thing tight and it won't slip off mid-show. When I'm walking through the show ring, I like to make sure that I'm staying behind or at the shoulder blade. Goats really like it if they think they're leading. So with halter braking, making sure you're staying at or behind the shoulder of your goat so that they feel like they're ahead. Following another goat in the show ring, if your goat doesn't like to walk as well or as smoothly, is another good tip that I have. So as you walk into the show ring, trying to stay behind that shoulder and extending your hand while you walk and kind of pushing her along at the same time can help quite a bit. Staying behind the shoulder, and it's nice to try to keep their head level, but there's only so much you can do at home or in the show ring. So at home, training them as much as you can to walk while keeping their head up is a good idea. Mine get exercised pretty regularly, so every time we're out and anytime the halter is on them, whether that's a chain halter or a rope halter, making sure that they know when it's on, they need to keep their heads up and keep them level. So when it comes to in the show ring, we want to make sure that we always have the goat in between us and the judge. So if the goat is standing right in front of me and I'm bracing and the judge switches sides behind me, I want to make sure that I'm still bracing, but I'm on the opposite side. Or if I'm walking around the show ring and I make a corner and the judge walks behind me, wanting to make sure that my eyes are on the judge at all times, making sure that, again, I'm making a goat sandwich or the goat is in between me and the judge. The judge and I are 2 pieces of bread and the goat is right there in the middle. Now I will be the showman and Cynthia will be the judge, walk around me, and I will example keeping the goat in between you and the judge at all times. At home, when you are training your goat on walking and you are practicing all you can, incorporating a snap, training your animals that a snap means let's go, or a or some sort of noise to help them know that we need to start moving, we need to start going, you're walking too slow, is always a great idea that I recommend. I do it with all of my livestock. When it comes to show clothes and what you're gonna want to wear in the show ring, a nice blouse, a button-up long sleeve shirt are always personal preference. I prefer to wear a nice blouse. There's always the sweater you can wear, a nice professional sweater. Always making sure your jeans are clean, making sure your animal is clean and presented to the best of their abilities. When we're in the show ring, our face does matter. Always being not serious but not angry. This would be an angry show face versus a serious show face. Looking the judge in the eyes the whole time. Don't put that wrinkle in your eyebrow, and making sure we're conveying that we are serious about our job. We're here to win. We're not angry. You have to pick me. Just This is what I'm here to do. This is my animal. It's presented to the best ability, and so am I. During showmanship, there are some questions that are asked. It is all the judge's preference on whether they would like to ask you questions. A lot of the times it's used as a tiebreaker or to put some people above or differentiate them from the others. Some common questions that are asked are what you are feeding your goat, how often do you exercise, different types of breeds, and your age of your goat, sometimes even the weight. So knowing all of those before you walk into the show ring is essential when you go into showmanship. Again, you never know if the judge is going to ask these questions. It is all what they want to do, how they're feeling that day, but it's less of a quiz and more of a get to know you and the goat. Always having those answers in the back of your pocket are a great idea. As you're preparing for county fair, hitting some other shows or watching some other shows is always a good idea. Looking for different trends, getting some helpful tips and tricks, and watching some of the older kids and how they present their animals and how they present themselves is always an opportunity that you can take advantage of. When it comes to show trends, numerous have happened, whether that is how we fit, whether that is how we brace, or whether we have a smile in the ring, or whether we have our serious face. When I started showing, it was all smiles in the show ring, which I wasn't opposed to. But midway through one of my show seasons, that trend changed, and then it all became serious faces. And unfortunately, that happens, and you just got to take that opportunity and run with it and turn it around at the next show. This has been the showmanship lessons. Again, showmanship is all about the partnership between you and the animal and how well you can present your animal. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out to your leader. They can answer them or give you a person to ask. Being in the show ring is all about having fun and getting the experience to work with an animal. As the show year progresses, or as you experience more shows through your time, it is always a good idea to watch shows. It's a good idea to watch older people show. That's a bad way to say that. Sorry.
Just watch it, yeah.
Oh, watch the old people.
Watch the old people. Watch the old people out there.